Yo, welcome back to the channel. If you've been watching the previous videos and you've enjoyed, make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like, that share, do whatever you gotta do. Today, actually, if you're wondering, this is the Jordan 96 All-Star Throwback jersey, the freshest jersey out there, had it not been for the Steven Adams Oklahoma City Thunder jersey, obviously. Today, we're gonna get back into some statistics, help y'all win a couple leagues. We're going to dive into the tight end position because this is one of my strong points. This is a guy I take pride in. And we're going to come at you with 3 league-winning tight ends this year. Now, I did this article in 2015. I'll link it down below just to give you a little background of why I think I'm, fire out the dragon's mouth with this. These are 3 guys I listed last year that would help you win your league at the tight end position. Tyler Eifert, Delanie Walker, Jordan Reed. Let that resonate. Let it marinate, baby. Those guys absolutely helped you win your league. Maybe not Delanie Walker as a league winner, but I mean, 3 for 3, you can't hate on the kid over here. And what I'm talking about in the tight end position are guys that are going super duper late in the draft, like 9th round or later. You don't have to waste high picks on them, but they will give you huge return on your draft picks. And these are 3 guys I'm going to get into today. I do not advocate picking early on tight ends. There's so much depth this year at the position that there's no reason to waste a pick. I'm not touching Gronk in the first round. I would much rather have an AJ Green or DeAndre Hopkins in the first round and then get one of these tight ends 10 to 11 rounds later. It just doesn't make sense. So without further ado, let's help you win a league, baby. Let's get started. We're going to take it over to the West Coast, San Diego Chargers, Mr. Old and Reliable Antonio Gates. I know this is going to bore a lot of you dudes. He's 36 years old. Last year, he battled some lingering injuries. He had his 4-game suspension to start the season, missed weeks 1 through 4, but came back with an absolute vengeance. First game back, 9 receptions, 92 yards, 2 tutties. Last year was supposed to be the year of Darius Green, as is every year, as is the year before that, as is this year. The dude's never going to come around. He won't be on this list, spoiler alert. Antonio Gates, man, he's been there throughout. No one has better chemistry than him and Phillip Rivers, man. Gates played in 11 games last season and saw 85 targets, which is about 7.8 targets a game. That's the same ratio that guys like Gronkowski had, man. He was 15 targets, 15 games, 120 targets, something like that. They in terms of targets per game, they were right at the same ratio. Now, Antonio Gates is currently going pick 120 overall, I believe, as tight end 13 or 14. Let me check that real quick. He's going 120 overall, so you can literally wait on Antonio Gates and get him in the 3rd round. Like I said, the dude got 8 targets a game. This year, what's different? Ladarius Green is gone. He's out in Pittsburgh, and you might not think it's a problem because you say, hey, Gates played over Ladarius Green anyways, but when Ladarius Green played with Gates last year, Green averaged 4.5 to 5 targets a game, so that's more targets that can go Gates' way. They picked up a couple playmakers in the offseason. Travis Benjamin, but Travis Benjamin's a deep ball guy. He's the speedster. So that's not going to be, none of those targets would be going to Gates anyways. You could say Stevie Johnson as a slot receiver over the middle. We just got news that he's out for the season. Boom, even higher upside for Gates. San Diego offense, man. I know they want to get more run oriented, as is every single team in the NFL during the preseason. But only one team all of last year even threw the ball more than the Chargers did. And that was Baltimore, because Baltimore was so shitty. San Diego threw the ball almost 42 times a game. Now, obviously, you could probably expect that to decrease. But either way, Ladarius Green is out. Stevie Johnson is out. Gates is going to be a huge centerpiece of that offense, especially in the red zone. Now, Keenan Allen's obviously coming back, and he will be the #1 target. But Phillip Rivers said coming into this year 2016, one of his main goals is to make sure Antonio Gates scores 8 touchdowns. So right now he's sitting at 104 career receiving touchdowns. And guess who's the top of him? Mr. Tony Gonzo. Tony Gonzalez holds the career receiving touchdown records for tight end at 111. So Rivers said one of his main goals is to get Gates above Tony Gonzo by getting him in the end zone, getting him paid dirt 8 times this year. All that tells me is when they're in the red zone, when they're at the 5-yard line, when they're at the 10-yard line, the 8-yard line, if it's a 50-50 chance, Rivers is going down his checks, whatever it may be, he's going to force it into Gates. He's going to Gates. He's going to feed him down there. If he can get to the 8 touchdowns, which I believe is completely possible because he's done that so many times in his career, that's almost a guaranteed top 7 to top 5 finish. Last year, Gates was on a points per game basis for fantasy, was a top 7 tight end. With lingering injuries, with all these other, different things that came into play that people were so down on him for. If he can score 8 touchdowns, that locks him into a top spot. I think last year 5 tight ends scored 8 touchdowns or more. 4 of them ended up as top 5 fantasy tight ends. So that just shows you, what is capable of Gates in this year. Like what's possible from the man. I mean, obviously he's gonna be old. He's 36 years old, but his floor is so solid with the amount of targets. Even if his targets dip from his career, I think his career targets are probably between 8, 9 in his better years, 10 targets a game. Leave that at 7. Leave that even at 6 with leading the league in red zone targets. You know what I mean? The floor and the ceiling combination is so good for Gates that everything is kind of coming into play here. Between the offense being pass heavy, the weapons kind of taking a toll there. Green and Stevie Johnson are both out. And the fact that Rivers just loves Gates, man. Their chemistry is undeniable. He is aging, but last year we saw him, was it 11.3 yards per reception, which is right around his average over the last 4 or 5 years. So it's not like he's getting slower. It's not like he's losing his step or running shorter routes because of it. I mean, it's still there. The ability is still there. So until proven otherwise, man, Gates is a lock in that 13th round. Go get him. Okay, let's jump into numero dos. That is my man, Dwayne Allen of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, we all know what happened in 2015. You can't just completely wipe it out and say, hey, Andrew Luck had a bad year, the Colts had a down year. They'll automatically be back to the best offense in the NFL in 2016. No, it's not what I'm saying, but a lot of what I'm going to talk about is kind of riding on that. So take a leap of faith with me. Let's turn back the time to 2014. And let's say Andrew Luck and the Colts will get back to at least a top 10, top 8 offense like they have been in the previous years. Now, Dwayne will probably be the most controversial guy on this list. He's probably the guy I'm least high on. For that reason, we don't know if they will automatically bounce back. We don't know how Andrew Luck's going to adapt to the, diversity or whatever you want to call it. And Dwayne Allen has had some injury history. He's only played 12 games in each of the last 2 years. But for what it's worth, I don't know. He's been doing yoga apparently this offseason. I tried that shit and threw my back out. Hopefully it works better for him than it did for me. But the guy's basically free. He's going as tight end number 18 right now. I think he's 175 overall. So if you're only in 15 round, 16 round leagues, you don't even have to pick him. So you could use literally your last round pick on him, jump up a defense or a kicker so you get the best at both positions, and then get Dwayne Allen in the last round. So basically, the Colts let go of Coby Fleener, the other tight end that took up a ton of targets in that offense, and they re-signed Dwayne Allen to a 4-year, $29 million contract. So clearly there's a lot of faith there in Dwayne Allen. They weren't sure what direction it was going to go, whether they're going to keep Allen or Fleener. They kept Allen. Obviously, they think he's going to be a big part of this offense. Now, Fleener left, which left about 90 targets open at the tight end position, and a ton of those should be going to Allen. The Colts are going to be switching their base offense this year to run 3 wide receiver sets. So it'll be, Hilton, Moncrief, Phillip Dorsett, and then Dwayne Allen will be basically the only pass-catching tight end going over the middle, catching those short dump-offs and things like that. Allen's not normally a dude, like a tight end that you think of, Gronk type, Kelsey type, super athletic. But he's becoming underrated just because of the production he put up last year as a pass catcher. His last year at Clemson, he caught 50 balls for about 600 yards, 8 touchdowns. So, he's flashing, he's shown the ability. He actually had a lot of praise coming out of college, comparing him to some of these top tight ends in the league for catching the ball. And when you look back in 2014 at, when obviously the Colts had their more productive years, they were one of the highest passing offenses in the league. They were second in the league, throwing the ball 41 times a game, second only to, I think it was the New Orleans Saints. So, I mean, the offense will be chucking the ball. Dwayne Allen will probably be an every down player, or, he might lose some snaps to Jack Doyle, but who the fuck cares about Jack Doyle? He's not doing shit over there. But Dwayne Allen, we go back to the 2014 season again, he scored 8 touchdowns in 12 games. He only played 12 games. Obviously, the injury risk is there, but he's such a dominant red zone threat that when they get down there, I mean, he's going to be Andrew Luck's first target. He's the biggest guy he has to throw to. He loves throwing it over the middle. And in those 12 games, he saw 15 red zone targets. So he's getting more than 1 red zone target a game. He caught 90% of those. He caught 13 or 14 of them. So the hands are there. He's reliable. He just needs to be able to stay healthy to, give himself the opportunity. But, man, I will take the starting tight end in an Andrew Luck-led offense. I do have confidence that the Colts will bounce back. I'm not sure he's going to, be prolific. I'm not sure Andrew Luck will ever actually reach the stage of the amount of hype that he got coming out of college. But he is obviously one of the more elite quarterbacks in the league, and I'll take Dwayne Allen in a second at where he's priced, man. Like I said before, I'm not using my first round pick on Gronk. I'll take an AJ Green, and I will gladly pair him with Dwayne Allen in the 15th or 16th round. So just to, give you some key takeaways here. Kobe Fleener is gone, meaning a lot of tight end targets are up for grabs. They're moving to 3 wide receiver base, meaning Dwayne Allen will be the only tight end on the field for the large majority of plays. He's going to get tons of red zone looks. He's shown the history. He's shown the ability to dominate in the red zone. He's shown the ability to score a ton of touchdowns and catch the ball. So, I mean, it's there again, man. We just have to hope that he stays healthy, and we have to hope that the Colts stay healthy as a team, because when they're healthy, obviously we've seen them be at their tip-top shape. Let's get into the last tight end that will help you win your fantasy league this year. That is the Black Unicorn, aka Martellus Bennett. Are you shitting me? This guy is a straight savage. How you not gonna want him on your fantasy team, if nothing else for just some style points? Get you some swag. Get this boy on your team. Not only for the reason that he's a savage, but because he's gonna dominate this year. Oh, but he's a backup. Shh. You know who else was a backup? Aaron Hernandez was the backup on this Patriots team, behind Gronk. Didn't stop him from catching 90 balls, putting up 1,000 yards, 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns, whatever. Yeah, he had some monster years. He was a savage in this offense, and Martellus Bennett can absolutely do the same exact thing that Aaron Hernandez did. People are underestimating Bennett this year because he's going to be playing behind Gronk, and because he's coming off of last year, which was injury-riddled, and he was playing that disgusting Chicago Bears offense, man. It just, it wasn't the right fit. He needed a change of place. And now he's coming over to the Patriots, which I don't know if you could have found a better position for him to land in. Here's why. I mean, we all know the Patriots obviously are a prolific offense. They pass the ball 65% of their plays, which is absurd for a team that wins the amount that they do. They just don't believe in the run anymore. They believe in going through the air. I mean, why not when you have a dude like Tom fucking Brady at the helm? So we have Martellus Bennett coming into this offense. Now, the Patriots are making the 2 tight end set their base offense, which means they're going to be running 80 to 90% of their plays out of that offense. This is like the key point here. Martellus Bennett is going to be in almost every single snap player. Even with Gronk ahead of him on the depth chart, he's going to be on the field basically every single time. So I'm almost considering Bennett as a starting wide receiver in this offense. And you might as well. Look at the other wide receivers he has on the field. I mean, it's going to be Edelman, who's, coming off that foot surgery, who already kind of banged himself up in practice. I mean, he's back to practice, but, between him and Dion Lewis, the best pass catchers, they got a new damn report every single day coming out about what's wrong with him. He's on the PUP. Is he going to get back on the field? He got carted off. I mean, the shit's wild, man. And there's really not a lot of depth at that wide receiver position. So now you pair Bennett playing every single down with him slowly becoming a favorite target of Brady. I mean, the reports are out of bounds this offseason of the chemistry building between them. I mean, it's stupid. I don't really like to look too far into these reports, but they had these 7-on-7 games or these inter-squad scrimmages, and I know last week or whatever they had one, and Brady went 25 for 25 or 27 or whatever, and his last 8 passes in a row all went to Martellus Bennett. They hooked up on 8 straight passes. I mean, the chemistry is there. You got to think, Bennett's 2 years removed from like a 90 catch, I think 1,000 yards. I apologize. Yeah, 2 years ago, we caught 90 balls for 915 yards, 6 touchdowns. He was a top 5 fantasy tight end. That's just 2 years ago. It's 2014. Last year, like I said, I'm going to throw that in as a wash because of the situation he was in, but he's back in a prime time spot. He's going to get a ton of targets in that offense. He is the perfect complement as a 6'6", 260-pound dude. Perfect red zone complement to Gronkowski. When they're down there, I mean, obviously the best pass covering linebacker is going to be on Gronk, leaving Bennett to just absolutely ridiculous matchups. There's no way they can cover both of them at the same time. I'm talking about between the 20s. I'm talking about in the red zone on the goal line, and Brady loves to throw to his tight ends on the goal line. So with me, I see nothing but upside for Bennett. I mean, the floor is there just by the amount of targets and the opportunity he's going to get, but the upside is incredible. It would not surprise me if we saw Bennett put up double-digit touchdowns. I think he will end the season with between 8 to 12 touchdowns. There will be games where he fucking scores 2, maybe even 3 touchdowns. We see guys like, you throw Scott Chandler or some shit like that in this role, and he does well. So the same thing is going to happen with Bennett, and Bennett has the ability. He's a better player than most of these second tight ends that the Patriots have used. And now that they're switching their offense to this 2 tight end set, he's going to be there every step of the goddamn way. He's going to be an absolute animal this year, and you do not want to miss out on him. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably saying, oh, you're only talking about Brady. Obviously, Brady's out for the first 4 games. We have Jimmy Garoppolo will be playing in his place. He'll be getting his first starts. And to me, that's not a concern considering the position Garoppolo plays. If we're talking about a deep threat or something like that, I don't actually even think the Patriots are going to be like, hey, let's dial it down for you, Jimmy. We don't want you unleashing the ball or anything like that. I think they have enough trust in the guy, and he's played well enough in practice or whatever the coaches have seen. But, I mean, it's proven that, the younger quarterbacks like to rely on the underneath routes, the tight ends, the short running back thing also. I don't think that Bennett's losing anything from having Jimmy Garoppolo there. I think a second wide receiver, maybe like a Chris Hogan or like a Malcolm Mitchell, whoever wins that second receiving spot, it'll definitely hurt their value. But for the rest of the offense, man, the Patriots live on that short pass game. Their running game is the short pass game. So I'm not worried about the first 4 games for Bennett. The only thing I'd be worried about in that situation is the touchdown upside. But once Brady's back, man, that offense is going to be stupid good, and Bennett will be a huge part of it. So just to recap, I brought to you the 3 tight ends today that will make a huge difference in your draft board. These are dudes that are going super late. You don't want to jump on a tight end early because the depth this year is, I feel like I say this every year, but the depth is unlike any other year. I mean, you can get, like I just said, Martellus Bennett's going fucking so late in draft. So is Dwayne Allen. So is Antonio Gates. All these dudes you could wait until the 12th, 13th round or later. Stack up on wide receivers. Stack up on running backs in the early rounds. Wait on a tight end. These guys will pay dividends for you. I promise. If not, that's on me. I'll pay your buy-in for your league. That's a huge lie. I won't do that. But I promise you won't be disappointed. As always, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, subscribe, like the video, thumbs up, share it. I don't care, do whatever you want to do. Leave some comments in the section if you agree, if you disagree, if you have any questions. As always, hit us up on Twitter at bdge_fantasyfb. And if you need anything for your league this year, draft board kits, championship belts, trophies, rings, any of that kind of shit, fantasyjocks.com is the place to go. I will link it down below. Holla.